Amazon is back on Google. Sort of. They essentially pulled out in late July from all Google shopping ads whatsoever. They literally went from 70% of the total ad spend to down to zero. They did nothing with it across the board. And as of last week, they're back, sort of. They are only back specifically in a broad market. So everywhere except for the US. They're in Europe, Canada, so on and so forth. But essentially, it's only for all of our international shopping, and they're not doing the US yet. And I think a lot of people have the same question of, well, why? Why did they do this in the first place? Why are they gone? And most people are just assuming it's a stress test, essentially. So that is the primary theory. And you can actually see they're spending even more in Europe and in Canada than they were historically. Historically, they weren't spending this much, and now they have increased the total spend there. And so I think I have a few theories as to what is going on. The primary one is that Amazon, yes, is doing a stress test, but more so, Amazon is trying to see how much Google Shopping ads actually play a pivotal role in their overall search and in their overall sales in different markets comparatively to just showing up via SEO and via the actual SERP. This is one of those areas where Amazon, if you search a product on Google, they're likely to show up, whether or not they have a shopping ad on the platform. And so it's one of those areas right now where I think that a lot of people are kind of wondering, are they actually going to come back onto the US shopping ads? I don't think they will, at least not right now. I think that Amazon likely has seen that it does not have a giant effect on their bottom line. What they likely will do, I think, is probably increase their overall spend come towards the beginning of Q4. So around mid October, a little bit after their Prime Day. Specifically speaking, I think that they want to try and invigorate Black Friday and Cyber Monday, but they are holding out on their overall ad spend for the time being, so they're not seeing a giant increase during non pivotal shopping event times. Amazon, as we know over the last couple of years, has been trying to increase the number of these different shopping events that they offer throughout the year. So I think this is their own way of essentially saying, hey, we didn't see as much of a overall impact on our Prime days as we thought Google Shopping ads would play. We're going to pull out of everything, test and see how we do, and then only put back ad spend towards areas that we actually see a good amount of movement on. So specifically Canada and Europe, especially those two markets where they don't actually have as much market share dominance as they do in the US. In the US, Amazon dominates everybody. But in Canada and more specifically in Europe, Amazon is, yes, a very dominant figure within the market, but they are not just fully the dominant figure. There are tons and tons more direct to consumer platforms out there that can and will take a lot of that market share. Now, how does all of this play effect for you as a seller? Well, I think the most pivotal and primary aspect of this is that this is a great time if you are a seller to try and take some market share on Google for your direct to consumer website. Or even if you're just an Amazon seller, adding in some Google shopping ads for your product specifically, this could be a time where you're going to have lower cost per clicks. You're going to have less competition, specifically from the dominant player in the market. You're also going to find that it's going to be a little bit easier right now to gain a little bit of that market share compared to your competitors who are still probably not doing Google shopping ads for the exact same reasons that you weren't doing them. So, if I were in your shoes as a seller right now, I would start playing around with Google Ads. This would be the time where if I have stayed away from them historically, this would be now when I would try and actually double down on them, especially knowing that we are going into kind of prime season with Q4 on the docket. This is going to be a great time for you to essentially try and gain both some overall ranking, but secondarily to that, just some brand share and market share so that going into Q4, you have a little bit better of an audience segmentation. You have a little bit better understanding of the overall market. And if Amazon does, like my theory suggests, come back in Q4, you are better prepped and prepared with those Google Shopping ads and your ranking within them to actually be able to compete with them a little bit more. And if you're somebody who doesn't actually know anything about Google Shopping, you've never done Google Shopping ads or anything like that before, I've got you covered. No worries whatsoever. If you head on over to our website, myamazonguy.com, we actually have a section under our direct to consumer services for Google Ads management. I encourage you to come here, read all about it. We have tons of information about managing your Google Ads. And if you're even somebody who doesn't have the time nor the wherewithal to do it, feel free to book a call with one of my team members so we can walk through exactly how you can strategically use Google Shopping ads now that Amazon is out of that race within the US. So definitely something that if you're somebody who's uninitiated, head over, read all of that information, maybe even talk to one of my team members, but even more so, look to see if this is the time for you to add some Google Shopping ads, as this is something that I am seeing a huge uptick from other brands within the space, consistently reaching out and talking about it ever since Amazon did pull out. Now, again, can they possibly come back into the US market sometime here within the next, 90 days? I think it's very likely. Are they going to stay away from it forever? No, of course not. It just wouldn't make sense for them. But this is definitely a good stress test moment. And it's also a really good moment for them to understand from a full market share perspective how much they will lose and how much you can gain in this kind of time frame. So again, head on over if you don't know anything about Google Shopping ads. Check out all of our information about it. We'll also have it linked down in the description. And hopefully, this is time for you to make a pivotal change in your brand and business.